Why would someone stay with the same gardener for over 10 years? Even after we moved across the city, it's not about convenience, it's not about price. There's something else that keeps people coming back. And sometimes the call doesn't even come from the client. It comes from someone who's been watching, someone who's seen the difference over time. Because when you care for a garden the right way, people notice. Not just how it looks, but how it feels. I'll share 2 quick stories. First one happened just a few weeks ago. We received a call, not from the homeowner, but from her sister calling from Vancouver Island. She asked if we could help because her sister could no longer manage her garden. She was now in a wheelchair. And the space she once loved had slowly become something she couldn't use anymore. The second story is very different. We have a client in North Vancouver. We've worked with her for over 10 years. Through seasons, through changes, through everything that comes with it. And even after we moved to Kitsilano across the city, she didn't look for someone new. She still asked us to continue taking care of her garden. 2 very different situations, but both say the same thing. When the garden is done right, it's not just about the plants. It becomes something people trust, something they rely on, something they don't want to lose. For the first client, we didn't just show up and start planting. We took a step back, looked at how the space was being used, and more importantly, how it needed to work now. We rebuilt her garden boxes, raised them to height she could reach comfortably. We replaced the soil because what was there before was no longer supporting healthy growth. We removed what wasn't working, plants that had outgrown the space, things that made it harder to move around, and then we replanted. Simple choices, easy to manage, nothing overwhelming, just enough to make the garden usable again. For the second client, it was completely different. There was no single movement, no big reset. It was built over time, years of regular care, showing up consistently, understanding how her garden changes season by season, and adjusting things slowly. A bit of pruning here, a small shift there, nothing dramatic, but over time, those small actions added up. The garden stayed balanced, it stayed healthy, it stayed familiar to her, and that's the difference. One garden needed to be reshaped in a moment, the other was maintained through consistency. But both came down to the same thing, understanding the space and working with it over time. And this is what most people don't realize about gardening. Good gardening is not about doing one perfect job. It's not about getting everything right in a single day. It's something much quieter than that. It's about understanding the space, taking the time to see how it behaves, where it holds water, where it dries out, and how light moves through it. It's about building trust not just with the client, but with the garden itself, and learning what works, what doesn't, and respecting that. And it's about consistency, showing up again and again. Not with big changes, but with small, thoughtful adjustments. Because plants don't grow overnight, they change slowly, they respond over time. And the same is true for the relationships you have with this space. The more attention you give it, the more it gives back. That's why one visit can transform a moment, but consistency transforms the garden. And over time, something deeper forms. Not just a well-kept space, but a place that feels understood. Because in the end, gardening isn't about plants. It's about how you care for something over time. And maybe you've experienced this yourself, and maybe you've had someone come in, work on your garden, and for a short time it looked better, but a few weeks later, it slipped back. Things fell off again, not quite how you imagined. Or maybe you've been trying to figure it out on your own, buying plants, moving things around, trying different ideas, but nothing really holds. And it's not because you're doing it wrong, it's because the process hasn't settled in. The space hasn't been fully understood. Because the garden isn't something you fix once, it's something you learn over time. And once that understanding is there, everything starts to feel easier, more natural, more consistent, because you're not guessing anymore. You're working with something you actually understand. You don't have to keep guessing. There's always a reason things aren't working. If something in your garden isn't working right now, don't push through it. Don't assume it's too difficult or that you've done something wrong. There's always a reason. Sometimes it's the soil, sometimes it's placement, sometimes it's just timing. So tell me, what are you dealing with? What have you tried already? Leave it in the comments, keep it simple. I'll go through them and I'll help you see what's really happening in your space. So you're not guessing anymore, you're moving forward with clarity, with confidence. I'm Darrell, and I'll see you in the garden.